What is up, everybody? I hope you are having a fantastic evening. Four-man front is here just 2 days before the draft. We're going to talk about the 49ers' reputation around the league and give our draft predictions next. All right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, the four-man front is here just 2 days before the draft. Let me go around the horn real quick, introduce my guys. Grant, how you doing, my man?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Good to be here.
Throwing up the deuces. What's up, Ryan G. Hensley?
Not a lot, fellas. Not a lot.
Coach's Huddle. Coach, what's up?
Feeling good, man. I just realized, dog, like your entrance music gives me like LA Gangland vibes. Like, doom, 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 like something about to go down. We about to go get a caper.
Were you gonna sea walk on somebody?
I was, man. I was throwing up signs. I didn't know what I was doing, so I did it off camera. So it was good. Don't want to perpetuate.
I would like to see Coach Seawalk, personally. I would like to see it.
Why do I feel like Ryan can do it, though?
Right, out of all of us, right?
Oh, my God. Flawlessly.
Every white kid from the West Coast learned how to sea walk in middle school or high school. It was like a must have.
I can't sea walk, but I can fizz face.
Oh. All right, well, close enough.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, listen, there was a lot that has gone down over the last couple of days. 2 days before the draft, there's so many rumors that are coming out. Guys are starting to fall down the draft board. We're starting to hear rumors of injuries that nobody's heard of until now, and they're still undisclosed. You got guys rising, guys falling. Things get crazy. But John Lynch did speak today. We will talk about that here in a little bit. But before we get to that, Davante Adams also had a comment and basically called the 49ers cheap. It said that his agent was lowballed by the 49ers multiple times. He was interested in coming to the 49ers, but his agent was not having it as far as the offers from the 49ers. So when you couple this with Dre Greenlaw and what happened there, and now George Kittle, it sounds like they're not close on a contract with him. He decided not to show up today. Are the 49ers getting a reputation around the league of being cheap? And if so, is that a bad thing? Coach, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'd like to get into it is that, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a major issue as it reflects the team's strategic approach to how they've been moving forward, namely in free agency in the offseason. It's just more of the same of what the Niners have been doing throughout this whole year. And he just kind of caught astray in a sense, right? And, dare I say it, Davante Adams is older. He's not the same receiver or the same asset that he used to be. There's more cost-effective players that are still out there. And right now, us getting Davante Adams will really be getting kind of like the best turd off the heap. Like, there's really nothing out there as far as spending any type of real money. Also, with his cachet, this story is as long as time. Players' cachet is bigger than their actual production. And then when they don't want to take, backup money, or they don't want to take fill-in guy money, what happens is that they think that their name and their persona should match the money that they want. So right now, I think that he's kind of having like a real wake-up call. It's not like the Niners were beating off any other offers to keep him in the building. So I just feel like it's kind of sour grapes.
Okay. Ryan, what do you think?
So your specific question is, are they building a bad reputation?
Yeah, are they building a reputation around the league of being cheap? I think the way that I look at it is when teams are winning, these things you kind of can push under the rug. But when a team starts losing and you still are playing the same games that you played when you were a winning organization, maybe the word gets out like, hey, we don't want to go there. They're cheap. I don't want to play for that organization. Like, what do you think?
So in two different ways. With free agency, yes, they're becoming the Cowboys when it comes to free agency. In free agency, the Cowboys haven't paid a free agent over $6 million since 2016, I believe. And I think the 49ers are adapting that strategy when it comes to free agents. When it comes to their in-house grown from the draft players, they're building a reputation of if you hold out, you will get paid the most in the NFL. So in that regard, with their own players, they have a reputation of paying their dudes. And all you got to do is hold out and wait, and they will pay you a ton of money. When it comes to free agency, they're going in that direction where they're not trying to spend a lot on free agents. And I think that's the direction that we will see from the Niners for the immediate future.
Grant, what do you think?
I mean, I'm not one to like really see it from their perspective, but like what they would say is like, well, we spent a lot the last 7 or 8 years, so we're not spending this year. And they won't really say why they're not spending this year. You could point to European soccer, which is interesting. I think there's another theory like comp picks. They love comp picks, and there's a formula. If you want comp picks, you can't sign a lot of players, and the ones you do sign can't be very expensive because you have to show that you're losing more than you're getting. And they lost so much this year, so they're in a position where in a year or two, they could get a lot of comp picks. And I think they decided that this is something that they not only want, but need if they're going to pay a quarterback more than $50 million a year. Like they need to not only, draft well, but they need to like create draft picks out of nothing. So I think they're committed to the comp pick formula, whatever strategy. And it's important to know that the deadline for the comp pick thing is Monday. So once Monday passes, they can go sign dudes who are available and it won't affect that anymore. So maybe they'll go sign Amari Cooper or someone else who's available. But I do think that's a big factor into their cheapness this offseason.
Yeah, comp picks, the draft, right? Like that's what their thing is now. Like they want to draft guys. They'll pay their draft picks, but they're not going to pay high-paid guys.
I think out of free agency, yeah. I mean, initially getting them in, but once they've shown that they can actually prove themselves to be an asset with the team, they do pay. I mean, they paid Trent, they paid Christian. You know what I mean? I think they paid Travarius Ward. So they will go out and pay. I just believe that like right now, it just ain't the season. He missed the window, quite frankly. Right, because guys got
a lot on players on every position when they weren't spending a quarterback. They've never spent more than $34 million a year on a player in franchise history, and I think they're trying to brace for a new future.
Yeah, I think you guys do a really good job of explaining it. I guess my point or my thought process is it's one thing to not tip somebody, which is rude in itself, but it's even worse if you tip a penny or $1. Like it's a slap in the face. And so when I look at this Davante Adams situation, it's like, okay, well, if you don't want to engage in conversations with Davante Adams, then don't engage, but don't insult him. Like, don't come in at half the price. Or I don't feel like Davante Adams would say something if he didn't feel slighted or insulted by the offer. Whatever the offer is, and we don't know for sure, it sounds like it was pretty dang low, enough for him to say something about it, and he's still frustrated about it, even though he's found a new team. I'm not saying he's right to have that feeling, but it does seem a little weird. And then when you couple that with the Dre Greenlaw thing, you jump on a plane and do all these theatrics to try to get him back. Don't make an offer. Like if you're going to insult players, just don't make offers. That's okay to do. But once you start insulting players and that gets around the league, I don't know. I think that you're playing with fire a little bit.
Let me ask you a question as the resident Niner apologist. Is it possible that the Niners didn't reach out to Davante, that Davante and his agent reached out to the Niners and they're like, hey, just so you know, Davante's from the Bay and would like to come back. Are you interested? The Niners are like, yeah, for no money, but yeah, we love Davante. Is that possible?
Well, okay, that plays. But I think that would make Davante even weaker for going public with it if you're the one who reached out.
Dude, Davante's the dude who pushed the cameraman, man.
I feel you. But
he hasn't talked about in his house, guys.
The energy around it is that he's frustrated. Not only there's a couple of reasons why he's upset. It's not just the offer, but he's in a way he's kind of the elephant in the room is that you wasted my time. Like, why would you even do all of this if you're going to just offer me going to lowball me? So if Davante was the one who struck it up and the Niners were like, well, this is what we got. Like, you can't be mad at the Niners. Like, you know what I mean?
Let me ask you guys an important Davante question. Who's a better Devontae? Devontae Adams or Devontae from Jodeci?
I mean, Adams is pretty good.
I don't
Oh,
know
wait a minute.
from
Take
Jodeci.
my money. Come on, man.
Jodeci, best R&B group of all time.
Did they cut him out of Casey and JoJo?
They cut him. Yeah.
Well,
Devontae,
Casey and JoJo kind of did the brother thing. Went off
brothers.
the date.
Okay.
Hey,
Yep,
but
okay.
that album was fire though. Come on, man.
I feel it. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Good question though.
Yeah.
Important
Thought so.
question. Important question.
It is
Very important.
We answer the hard hitting stuff here on 4-Man Front. All right. Speaking of hard hitting and money related, Kittle, Warner, and Jennings all are looking to get paid this offseason.
Jennings too.
Does-
I love that. Don't forget about
well,
me,
he's going into his last year, and he just
Hey.
got that 1,000 yards. So yeah,
That's right.
Of course he is.
Hell yeah.
So, do you feel like, because today on the surface felt like really good vibes? Like Purdy showed up, Trent supposedly was there, CMC is, I'm healthy and I'm as good as I've ever been. But then you have these contract things in the background, and even though that some of these guys showed up, it just seems like there's a possibility of kind of repeating last year, where it's like, man, if you pay one, you got to pay them all. I didn't even mention Purdy's deal. Do you think that the 49ers are setting themselves up for a run it back of last offseason with all these guys expecting to get paid in their hands out? Grant, what do you think?
I mean, they're at the mercy of the players. They're definitely setting it up that way. But fortunately, Fred Warner and Brock Purdy have both decided to show up for now, which is huge, because Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams were like not even thinking about it. And I think that they think that derailed their season. That's what they said. So they're kind of lucky that it's just George Kittle at this time. And I wonder if the Niners will do anything differently. Like, you identified that this was an issue last year. You want to have a good offseason. If George Kittle really is going to hold out the entire time, are you going to just throw up your hands and be like, oh, well, he'll be here eventually, we'll be okay? Or will you say, no, we're going to trade him? Sorry, it's new year, new us. Probably not. Probably it's the same Niners. We did the same. I'm just saying it'd be kind of cool.
Ryan, what do you think?
I think, you know what, man? I think Brock, Kittle, Jawan, Fred, they all got that like personality that almost doesn't exist anymore in sports, where they are very much team oriented. And maybe this hopeful thinking, but I just feel like they will be able to negotiate something. Like, I think Trent is, he's definitely about his money, which is not a bad thing. And BA obviously is. And no, don't get me wrong, these other guys that I'm talking about are as well. But I think there'll be some copaceticness where they'll be able to figure it out. And I don't see that that's going to be something that happens this year. I think it gets worked out with those guys for some reason.
What if, Coach, before I go to you, I'm going to throw in a different scenario here.
Oh, great.
What if they decide to pay one of those guys and not the other two, between Jawan and Kittle and Warner? Like, can that fracture maybe some of these other guys? Like, hey, I want to get paid too. Like, why aren't we doing what we did last year? You think there's any risk there, Coach? What do you think?
You want me to go to the original or what you just asked?
You can go both. I don't care. I'm just throwing out another
I feel you. For me, I think that there's some syntax between Brock, George, and Fred. And it's that right now, Brock is trying to prove his worth monetarily, right? And there's like a back and forth between the organization. But Brock's biggest cheerleaders were Fred and George. And his whole his whole coming out. Like, nobody rang the bell harder than Fred, talking about, like, I know, I've been telling you this guy is the man. And George, I mean, so much so as being told to shut the fuck up in huddles, is he can't stop giving Brock advice about how much of the guy he is. So it's going to be very ironic that all three players, where two of them have been saying, hey, Brock is our guy, but now it's like karma that now the two biggest Brock guys on the team want their money while Brock wants his money. I don't know. I can't read these guys. I think through the past contracts, we've learned that we don't know who these guys are. They all act differently when it comes time to get paid, right? Like, we can have guys on totally different ends of the spectrum. You can have a Brandon Ayuk and a Deebo Samuel, but for every one of those guys, there's a Deommodore Lenoir who just gets the deal done. right? So it's on both. It's all over the place. But for me, I don't trust this team as far as I can throw them. I don't think that they'll take deals for each other to get people paid. I don't think that Brock is necessarily thinking about Fred's attrition and making sure that George gets his money. They're not having those conversations. So I don't think that they're together in that sense. But I do think that the irony is that those are the three guys that actually showed up to camp and were on time last year. So I do think that there's an element in the locker room where these guys can't all of a sudden, just not be there. You don't think these guys had personal conversations in the locker room during camp, during the summer, talking about getting BA in here, or we need Trent in here, or guys, and we would have been better this season if certain guys would have been more serious. You can't turn around the very next year and hold out. So I think that all these guys are going to toe the line. I will say that I think only one of them gets signed before the season starts. It may not be Brock, but I do believe that it's going to be fun kind of watching them squirm because they have been championing Brock, but it may look like they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is.
Can I think all of them but Jawan. I think Jawan already got paid, and he got paid for this year already, right? So he's already paid for this year. That's a guy that maybe they extend in the season. But I think the Niners want Brock, Kittle, and Warner to be Niners for a long time. I think those guys sell jerseys and they put butts in seats. And I think that's ultimately the most important thing for the 49ers is making money, and those guys help them do it. So I think it gets done.
All right. We'll see. The Jennings one is the one that kind of throws me for a loop because he did get paid last year. He took a 2-year deal, but I've always said that he's kind of the Dre Greenlaw of the offense where he's super underrated. And if he goes out there in free agency, he's probably going to get more than what the 49ers are willing to pay. So if they let him hit free agency, I don't think he comes back. Do they let it get to that point? I'm not quite sure, but they do have him under wraps this year. So that's the one that I'm really kind of intrigued by.
Maybe a
Dave
type
Sims,
situation. Yeah.
A what?
Like Diamador type situation for Juwan. Yeah.
Yeah, but with Greenlaw and Demo, it was like a year early. It wasn't, I don't know. We'll see. They're so weird about their contracts.
Out of all of them that jump the line, kind of want their money right away, yeah. Jawan is more deserving. I don't see no problem with him asking for his money to get paid for what he's done with the team, especially how he's quietly just done his best. And Ryan is right. If he gets in the open market, the Niners can't afford to get into a bidding war to try to keep him there. So I feel like he's actually doing the Niners a favor. He's telling them to get it done now, lock me up before I hit the market, because if you do, it's open season and I'm going to go to the best bidder. So in a way, I think he's being a good businessman. He's honestly keeping all the cards on the table with the Niners and being honest. He deserves his money.
Dave says, my guys, love you all. Hope we got some news. Maybe. No, I don't think anything crazy is happening yet. Manhattan John says, it's pick 11. Johnson and Nolan are gone. Mason Graham and Tyler Warren are there. All attempts to trade back have failed. I feel like this is a mission. Would you take Warren or Graham or reach for someone rated in the 20s? Graham, what would you do on this one? This is interesting.
Graham, no problem.
What would I do? Okay. I think I would take. I hate this draft. Where they're at 11, there's no blue chip prospect. You want to say take a D end or a D tackle, like anyone you name at 11, I could go on and on about why they're a projection and why they're risky or why they're who knows. I'm going to save my answer for later because I want to. Okay. I have something I want to say here, but I don't want to say it yet.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Mason Graham guy or Tyler Warren, so I would quote unquote reach, but I think there are guys that aren't rated in the 20s that I have rated higher that I would put there. So I would.
In a nutshell, the way this draft feels, if Mason Graham was there at 11, we wouldn't feel like he fell to us. We would feel like nobody else won. Don't you guys? Would you guys feel that way if we drafted Mason Graham at 11? If he fell all the way to 11, would you really be excited? Would you not be looking for the holes? we know the good stuff, but we be saying, man, the
Short
league knows
arm,
something.
kinda
Yeah,
light.
the league knows
I don't
something we
know.
don't know, and we kind of
Yeah.
reached on the guy. That's the
Does he really
draft this year.
fit?
I think
Yeah,
I like Graham. I think I like Graham more than you guys probably.
Yeah, it
Harbaugh
sounds
guy.
like it. I'm not a big Graham guy. I don't think he's awful, but whatever.
What about
All
Graham
right, let's talk a little bit about this draft, and in particular, let's talk about it through John Lynch's eyes. He had some interesting comments. The first comment that really stood out to me, and Coach, I'll go to you first on this one because we've had a lot of conversations over the last couple of weeks about who is a first round grade, who's not. Teams are all over the board. You know, one team may say, "Hey, well, there's 30 guys." One team may say there's 12. It's all in the eye of the beholder. What surprised me is that John Lynch, now he did say, hey, this draft is deep. And that's what makes this draft great. And we think we can get starters in day 2 and even day 3, which we've talked about. But where we differ is he thinks there's 20 first round graded guys in this draft. That kind of surprised me. I don't think there's that many. And I didn't think they would have that many. So what are your thoughts when you hear 20 true first round grades on this year's prospects from John Lynch?
Smoke. They don't really know where they want to go. When you say that there's 21st round picks in this draft, and I have a hard time getting to 10, truly. Like after 7 guys, I have a truly hard time finding that extra 3 guys that are legit first round picks. I think that sometimes John gets in a position where, for lack of a better term, he just be talking in our face. You know, he wants to sound good. He wants to come off like, you know, I'm gonna give you what you want to hear. You know, this has been a long time since we've actually talked about the draft, and we need to let you know about our best laid plans, about all of the prospects we see, and you know, all of the let's strike up the bombast and get everything going as far as understanding that there's really no bad decision we can make. Instead of him being honest about this draft and saying, hey guys, it's huge on depth. There's starters up and down the draft, and we gotta aim small and miss small. All right. There's not a lot of can't miss guys in this draft, and the Niners are going to have to be able to go in with a scalpel and pick the guys that are there. Like, that makes sense. I don't understand why he doesn't just want to treat us like adults, but it was, for me, it didn't make a lot of sense because there's not 20 first round picks in this draft. Nobody is feeling that way. That's what the theme of this draft is, that the first round, everybody's trying to get out of it. Go ahead, guys.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
You know, I think last year he had 23, right? He had 23 first round grades, and this year's 20.
Yeah.
So it has gone down, which is the trend with most people in this draft. It's hard for me to say. I'm probably not, to be real here, I'm probably not as dialed in as the coach and on like who I would rate a first round draft pick. But it does speak to what this draft is looking like, which is less first round talents. It doesn't really surprise me. It's only 3 spots different. And the thing that is interesting is that they think there's a lot of depth throughout. 200 draftable players, which is more than last year. I forget what he said, 187 draftable players last year. So more total draftable players, less first round talents. It sounds like that's what most people are saying. Now, maybe the numbers are a little off compared to what people that are really dived in deep to this draft are saying, but I'm not really surprised by anything there. I think that does speak well to the 49ers having 11 draft picks and needing a lot of meat and potatoes this coming draft. So as long as they nail their 11th and they get a first round talent there, that makes me more confident about, you know, day 2 and 3 with what they can do.
Grant?
I mean, to me, it just means the Niners are guaranteed, or should be guaranteed, to draft a player with a first round grade in the first round. Because last year they took Ricky Pearsall, who did not have a first round grade. They took him with the 31st pick. And maybe at that point, you're not really expecting to take a guy with a first round grade, but it's nice to at least be in position to take a guy with the first round grade. All the more reason not to reach for someone who is borderline.
I think what's interesting about that is that, to your point, I mean, worst case scenario, that means that they're going to have 10 guys available to them that they have first round grades on. And I just feel like that's more of an area to mess up. There's another comment, though, that really intrigued me, Grant. I'll go to you first on this one. It was 2 separate comments, but I kind of put them together. He says at some point, production matters. When you're looking at prospects, you can't just look at all the testing. you have to look at production. At some point, it means something. And then he was asked about the edge position and what he looks for. And he says, first things first, I look for somebody that can set the edge in the run game. So when you put those two comments together, is there a prospect that you feel like is eliminated from being picked at 11, or a prospect that should rise based off of what he's saying in those two comments?
Well, yeah, I think we all thought about Shamar Stewart when he mentioned is that he's the guy that doesn't have any production. 4.5 sacks in 3 years, 1.5 sack per season. I mean, yeah, it might rule him out, but I don't really know if, like, to Coach's point, he just be talking sometimes. Like, I don't know if we really need to take what he could have been referring to is think about picks from the past, like Kinlaw and Lance. Those are guys who didn't have a ton of production in college, and the Niners bet on their trades, took them high in round one, and it didn't work out. So maybe they're trying to learn from the past, and maybe that's one thing.
All right. What about you, Ryan? What do you think?
I look at everything John Lynch says right now like a $3 bill, right? Fake. Like, I don't trust it. I don't care what he says at this moment in time, especially when he's asked questions, right? It's not like he volunteered, but even if he volunteered these answers, then maybe he's throwing them off that way. Like, I don't really anything he says, like, it could be, straight manipulation, draft manipulation, especially this week. I usually don't trust anything coaches, GMs, players say at face value anyways, but especially this week. So I don't really make much of it.
Coach, what about you?
Honestly, there's really only one guy that that makes sense as far as like production on top of like what we need if we're talking about specifically edge, and it's Michael Williams. You know what I mean? He's got the biggest upside. He's got the biggest versatility. He actually brings things to the defense that we do not have. All right. Even when we were at our best, we didn't have a player as versatile at that high of a level as Michael Williams. And I just think that, like, right now in this year's draft, if you're going to get an edge outside of like somebody with true upside like Williams out of UGA, then what you're doing is you're getting a specialist. That's what all these guys are. They're special at one thing. All right. These guys don't have a lot of skill set. Their bag is not that deep. Abdul Carter is a glorified linebacker, in my opinion. He doesn't have strength of power. He can't deal with strong tackles off the edge. And playing in the NFL, man, you got to actually know how to, what John Lynch said, set the edge. And if they know that all you do is just run at the passer, then guess what? You're going to get Micah Parsons. Play in and play out. We're just going to run right at you. Right? So, for me, I feel as though him putting out 20 first-round picks, I feel for them is that they're still circling the wagons. They're softening the blow, right? The biggest thing about them right now is that they've done a lot of tough talking and fallen on their face, but they haven't had to really answer for what they've been saying because they've been winning, right? Now it counts. That's why I feel like all of those guys showed up for the offseason program today, because they're getting to the point now where the same way Kyle has had talks with Debo and talks with Trent and talks with guys where he's like, hey, man, I need you to lock in. I believe that this year's Cabo Summit was, hey, man, I need y'all to straighten up and fly right. This is not the year to be effing around. Show up, all right? Negotiate as a pro, because I can't protect you anymore. So, yeah, I think that they're doing the same thing with the draft.
To me, when he said those comments, I immediately said, this is the tiebreaker. So many people are arguing Shamar Stewart versus Michael Williams, who are similar but different also. Both have high upside. Michael is certainly proven to be a really good player in the run defense. Shamar Stewart has a lot of, I don't know, physical abilities, but
he's got physical traits
in there. So when I look at those comments, I'm like, wow, he just basically said we like Michael Williams and not so much Shamar Stewart. But that doesn't mean he's telling the truth either, or he's in particular talking about those players. I just found it really, really interesting. The other thing you talked about,
just about those players, they might go a different direction with a different position in round one.
For sure. Absolutely. But, he also talked about, hey, it seems like everybody's trying to trade back. We've heard rumors of them trying to trade back. He doesn't think that there's going to be a lot of movement necessarily as far as trading back. So, it does seem more and more like the 49ers are going to make a pick at 11. So let's just get into it. Let's start talking about some draft day predictions.
Can you show Great Tone's comment? You're out of control, Great Tone.
Draft Mike Green. You saw that one?
And have Alden Smith mentor him.
That's like have Hitler mentor Mussolini and they can do mission work together.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Sorry.
Grant, I'm going to save you for last on this one because I'm intrigued by which direction you're going to go.
Right. I'm intrigued to hear yours.
Yeah. So, Ryan, I'll start with you on this one. And I've been seeing a lot of your Twitter posts, so I think I know what direction you're going to go. But why don't you give me 2 names at 11 that you think the 49ers are going to take? Like they'll take in your heart of hearts, thought of thoughts, one of these 2 players will be a 49er at pick 11. Which 2 players are you going to throw up there?
No trading back or trading forward.
No trading back. They're going to pick at 11. If they trade back, all bets are off, or trade up. But pick 11, they're making their pick. Give me 2 names that you think they're going to be targeting at pick 11.
I think there are some really, 2 or 3 really good defensive linemen in this draft that the 49ers could possibly get if they fall. But when I look at this draft in its totality, I think, and I do, by the way, think the 49ers' biggest need is on the defensive line this year. That being said, when I look at this draft, I feel like they can find quality starters in round 2 and round 3 on the defensive line. And if you want the best value at 11, to me, you have to go offensive tackle. The biggest busts in round 1 are wide receivers and pass rushers. If they're smart, they might want to avoid that and go with the best value, which to me, if Will Campbell somehow slips to him, or of course, Mimbu. Those are the 2 guys. Any of the top 4 tackles, I think, are open. Like Simmons, if he didn't get injured, he might be the top tackle in this draft. So even though the 49ers are like, hey, we value pass rushers more than anything, I think the best value, if you're going best player available, is going to be tackle, knowing that in round 2 and 3, they have some good defensive linemen that they can get at that point.
Okay. All right. Coach, what do you think?
Well, for me, it just all takes off on like, what is there a run on, right? If the quarterbacks are gone, what is there going to be a run on? I don't think any receivers are going to get picked high before us. I believe that that's going to get picked later on down the line. There is something intriguing about defensive tackle. In my opinion, if Mason Graham goes and then somebody gets a bug up and takes off Derek Harmon, then we'll start looking at like Talik Williams, TJ Sanders territory. Even if we skip at 11, right? Which we can go deeper in the draft because this is a defensive tackle laden draft. For me, the biggest question marks in this draft right now is edge. Even the best edge in this draft, I don't think is the best edge in the draft. If we're going to go for a guy that's a game changer with a high ceiling, somebody that can change it all, I would say Mikael Williams, edge out of UGA, 6'5", 260, young, not even 21 years old yet, and played injured. This is a guy that I think can help us big time with the edge. I'm going to stay away from defensive tackle. And then at linebacker, man, I think that, Will Campbell is somebody that we talked about, but just for mixing it up and not going on for what Ryan's already spoken about, I still think that there's a case for Jahad Campbell at 11. If things shake up a certain way, that there's still a case for him at 11 to play next to George, to play next to Fred. We got somebody that can actually go rush the passer. Kid has got tons of tread on his tires, and we just got to see what the Niners would do. But for me, I'm not really worried about the rest of the draft. They really can't screw up the draft if they get 11 right, in my opinion. Mikael Williams is the pick.
Okay. Grant, before I go to you, because I really, truly want to save yours for last, I want to see where you're going to go with this. I'm going to quickly throw out Mikael Williams. I think if they go edge, that's the pick. And if they go defensive tackle, then it's going to be Walter Nolan. So I think it's between those 2. For me, at pick 11, that's what I would do. So, Grant, where are you going with this one?
Okay. The thing that's interesting about like the defensive end class, and like Coach said it, Abdul Carter might not be the best. You could make the argument that the best defensive end in this class is Mike Green, and no one's gonna take that guy. I mean, maybe someone will take that guy. I don't think the Niners are gonna take that guy. You can Google
Zero
him if you
top
want.
30 visits, Grant.
Dude.
0. Yeah.
I wouldn't take that guy, and I don't even know what happened. But I would be uncomfortable with that. But just based off the tape, I think he's more powerful than Abdul Carter and probably better against the run. So that's my thing. Like, you could take a defensive lineman there, but it's a very important position. But the nature of the position is there's a lot of them, and you can get good players, day one starters, rounds 2 and 3. The two positions that are hardest to find starters, in my opinion, in the draft, quarterback and offensive tackle. You really kind of have to be in the top half of round 1 to feel good about getting a player like a starter at that position. And I think that's why the Niners are going to take Kelvin Banks. I think they're going to tell themselves, like, look, the same reason they took McGlinchey. Although I think he's better than McGlinchey, and McGlinchey was a right tackle only. This guy, I think, is a left tackle. Although he might be better at guard, I think he can play left tackle in this system at a fairly high level. I think they'll tell themselves, look, we're not going to be drafting here for a while. This is our one opportunity to get a left tackle. He is a left tackle. He played in our system, yada, 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 yada. And maybe they won't give him a second contract. Maybe he'll be a disaster, but that's who I think they're going to take. Unless he gets drafted early. I mean, maybe the Bears take him at 10. Maybe the Saints take him. They just lost Ramczyk. So I'm thinking to go with Banks, but what I would do for the same reason, for the same logic, I'll take Shedeur. Because here's why. Kelvin Banks, Mykel Williams, any player you take, can't miss. They all have their pluses and minuses. There's no can't miss guy you can get at 11. And you might not be in a position to draft a quarterback in round 1 for a very long time without trading up. And that didn't go so well for this team. He's a good fit for your offense. He's got a very high floor. He'd be cheap. You could let him compete with Mac Jones, and then you could trade Brock Purdy to any team that's interested for a second round pick plus and just start over. I think Shedeur Sanders may not be Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, but I think in this system, he could be Brock Purdy. Absolutely. Maybe better.
He could. God, you be trying to make sense for the sense of art. You do so much evil with your powers. Like, why can't you ever just be good, man?
I've ever gotten. Thank you so much.
You do. It's the red pill and the blue. You always pick the red pill, bro. Like Shedeur at 11. I would have never called that, but it's so you.
Appreciate it.
Listen, I agree. Like, I don't like Shedeur in the wild. I don't like Shedeur for what they're saying that he is, which is a high-level quarterback in round 1 that's a can't-miss guy. He's nothing close to that. That's not who he is. What sucks about it, though, is that in order for Shedeur to actually be good, he's got to go to a curated situation. He's got to go to a team that's going to walk him through. That's why I hate this, is that the Niners are a team that could ingest taking on a Shedeur Sanders. We did it with Brock. And
the Rams could do it too.
He's got a better arm. I don't know about his processing, but he takes care of the ball. And I'll tell you one thing is that he's enough for Kyle. I think that Dion being a part of his whole cachet that actually will play in the Niners, because Kyle loves to kind of like vicariously live through. Yeah, they love to
always kid on the freaking team.
They love to star fuck. That's their thing.
Man.
So yeah. So I don't know, man. They wouldn't do it though.
So many Sanders jerseys, man. So many.
They wouldn't do it though. They wouldn't do it, Grant. That's crazy.
I think I would. I think they're going to go with Kelvin Banks and piss off every Niner fan there. No one's going to like that pick. That's what I think they're going to do. I think Sanders would be exciting. I think Niner fans would be juiced. Quarterback.
Jay King said processing doesn't mean shit in bad weather. Brock Purdy can't hold the ball in bad weather.
That's what he's talking about.
Hey,
Shedeur.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Go ahead.
Is there any chance do you see it that Genty falls to 11? Because I think if he's there, the Niners might take him.
Yeah, I think he definitely could fall there. Yeah.
Ashton Genty is special. At 11, I'd do it.
I think the Niners.
I'm not so sure that Mykel Williams will be there at 11. I'm not so sure that Banks will be there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Membu, Campbell, Banks and Michael Williams are all gone in the top 10, and someone like Genty falls.
He's not.
There was a
he's
joke
not,
that I missed.
Jesse. He's not Travion Henderson.
The reason I did that is because yesterday I made an argument for Travion Henderson at 43, and he said, "What are we going to do in the trenches?" And now he's saying take Genty at 11. I'm like, get out of here.
If Genty,
we're not going to get into it.
Martinez, round 4.
Hold on. So wait a minute. You don't think that Genty's a generational guy?
I don't think the difference. I love Genty. I've been on him all year. Loved watching him. I've been talking him up ever since I saw him play against the Ducks. The difference between him and Henderson is so minute to me that I would be perfectly fine taking Henderson at 43 and be just as excited as getting Genty at 11. So that's just me. Okay. Can't believe you. Shador Sanders at 11. Going back to the 2021 draft. Shador Sanders at 11 would have been the equivalent of taking Mac Jones at 12.
At 12.
Nobody loved it at 3, but is totally okay with it at 12.
Exactly.
And Sanders at 3 to the Giants, or if you trade up, is stupid. But at 11,
and I like Shador better than Mac because there's something kind of non-leadery about. There's something weird about Mac where I think Shador is like an A1 alpha leader. Doesn't mean he'll be a great player, but it just seems like someone you can rally around. And Mac was kind of like, dude, can you even take criticism? Maybe Shador's that way. I don't know. But he led 2 different programs. He's played a lot. I think he's a better prospect than Mac Jones was. Straight up.
Oh yeah, Mac Jones gets a lot of love for his college career. He played around a loaded Alabama team with Heisman Trophy winners on that team. And he started for 1 year and went to the league. Mac Jones didn't really do a lot in college.
Yep. Can I say real quick, just to back up why I wanted offensive line at 11? Yeah. Because Tyleik Williams is like one of the most interesting players that might be available in the second round. And if you can get him in the second round, then why spend, 11 on a D tackle? So I'm hoping they get Tyleik in second
in round 3 too. You can get in round 3.
But I don't know, man. You guys think that as far as like getting a guy that's special at edge, if we had to get another edge, do you guys think that there's anybody that's within the realm of the top 5 that we see right now? I don't think Shamar Stewart is a top 5 edge. But
I like David Walker. He seems like he's a 3-down player. He's super powerful. He can set an edge. He has tons of sack production. Now he played at Central Arkansas, but then he went to the Senior Bowl and played well. And KJ Wright was there. I think they would take him in round 3. Which is higher than most people think he's going to go. I know he's like almost 25 or something. I just think they like him.
Oh, he's a perfect.
KJ Wright likes him.
We love him old ass rookie.
Hell yeah.
Super seniors. Manhattan John says, it is now pick 43 and the Niners took Tyler Warren at 11. He didn't give us a choice. He says, will they do the right thing and go trenches, or will Kyle go running back and piss everyone off? He'll go Travion Henderson if he's there. That's what
I think Kyle will hold himself until 4th round. I think the organization has told him, Kyle, you got to wait till round 4. Take your running back from now on.
I will tell you this. I'll say this. I did a lot of Travion Henderson scouting yesterday after the show, and we talked. He is the perfect Kyle Shanahan running back. I talked to Tom about it.
He's Alvin Kamara.
He's. I don't think he's Alvin Kamara, but I think that
Alvin Kamara at Tennessee.
Can we talk about what kind of running back?
I don't think Alvin Kamara was Alvin Kamara in Tennessee. He didn't do all that in college. Alvin Kamara was not doing all what he does in the league in college, especially at Bama.
It's pretty good.
He was good.
Go ahead. Who was he splitting carries with? Quick trivia. At Tennessee, who was he splitting carries with?
Jalen Hurd.
Thank you.
Oh,
well done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
I think that the Niners are looking for a different type of running back. Maybe I'm wrong, but I get the feeling they want someone who's a little bit more like Jordan Mason, a little bit more like Ty Davis Price, a little bit more like Debo.
Say his name.
Who's 6 feet, 220, and like slams into the line of scrimmage really freaking hard. So that's why I think Damian Martinez in round 4 is someone they might like, because he's the running back that they wanted Ty Davis Price to be, and he never was. He's really freaking good. Damian Martinez.
He is.
Played at Oregon State, transferred to Miami, great, good in both places. As opposed to Cam Scatterbo, no offense, who played at Sac State, and then had like a couple good years at Arizona State, and he ran a 4.66. Like, no. This dude ran a 4.5. Much better athlete. Damian Martinez.
You know who else ran low 40 though at running back?
Who?
Frank Gore. Frank Gore was slower than
He ran
Cam
a
Scatterboo.
4.66.
Slower than Cam
4.5
Scatterboo.
something.
Hey, look.
Cam.
So I'm gonna tell you this now. I'll tell you this. I'm kind of falling in love with Cam Scatterboo, man. I watched a lot of tape, and I'm not here to
He did run a 4.69. Sorry, Gore ran a 4.69. Sorry.
Yeah. So Cam Scatterboo, I watched all of his last season. First of all, he runs every running style there is. Okay, so the boy can run outside zone, inside zone, gap scheme, duo, veer. He can run all that gun and run stuff. Cam Scatterboo can play anywhere. That's one thing. Another thing is that Cam Scatterboo, he can do his thing in the route tree. I'm not saying that he could run routes like a receiver, but comebacks, digs, whips, slants, all of that like near intermediate field routes. He's very good at that stuff. He's got good hands. He carried his team. Go back and look at those games, man. They had a big ass game, bro, where everything was on him. Another thing too about Cam that honestly that I like, name one person coming from Arizona State that was in the combine.
I
don't know. I didn't pay attention to who
Coach,
it was.
Not one. That's my point. Not one.
In what round would you feel like it was a reach, though, for Cam?
Anything above round 2.
You would take Cam Scatterboo in round 3?
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. Cam is a player, man. That kid can play, bro. I'm sorry. I've seen him get the ball when everybody in the whole stadium knew he was getting the ball. You got to watch him play. It's not all about speed. He's got vision. He's got contact balance. He runs his track.
Player.
He's a very good player.
We argued about this months ago, and I told you he was a good player. And you're like, Cam's got to blah, 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 blah. He's a good player, but now, like the hype
what
is
does
too
Cam
high
do
now.
better than Damian Martinez, though?
Way too high.
Faster, averaged more yards per carry over his college career, didn't play at Sac State. I'm not holding that against him. Sac State's a great school. Hell of a school.
I mean, I don't want to throw up the numbers. I mean, numbers for numbers, I would believe that Cam Scatterboo was more productive than Damian Martinez. I mean, Damian Martinez played with Cam Ward. Cam Scatterboo was the team.
State,
that was the Damian Martinez offense, as everyone knows.
Let me ask you a controversial question. Let me ask you guys a controversial question. Would people have Cam Scatterboo as high as they do if he wasn't Caucasian? Is he benefiting?
I think if Cam Scatterboo was black, I think if he was black, he'd be a second round pick.
Reverse racism.
Really?
Yeah, and you know what? I can do it because I'm the only black guy.
I think McCaffrey felt he was a victim of that too. Like no one really took him seriously as a running back until he proved that he was legit. And still, I think he thinks that people don't take him seriously on that level.
Man.
Like hardly.
They be calling him Christian McCaffrey, CJ2K. They be giving him way more with if Christian was black.
His cousins in the comments, Nick Meyer. Cam Scatterboo.
Come on, man. Scatterboo sound kind of black anyway.
He's in there right now.
Scatterboo.
Yeah, Nick Meyer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cam's cousin.
he's the best. Love him.
Nick,
hell of a player.
hey Nick, tell Cam to roll up to the show, bro. We rocking with Cam. Cam is a baller, bro.
Did I mention that he's a great? He's a receiver and he can do so much. Damn, you guys gotta.
He's just not fast, bro. That's all that is. And who cares about that shit?
He does have a good 10-yard split. He does have a good 10-yard split.
Got a good 10-yard split.
I know what you're saying, but we know. Hey, you know what? Don't get that, yo. Stop talking about my white brother like that, man. Get that coded language out of here. 10-yard split. I know how you talk about my white friends. We ain't doing none of that 10-yard split stuff over here.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Thing.
Nah, he runs a full 40.
10-yard split.
Give his white calves some credit. Full 10-yard split.
Faster than Frank Gore.
Faster than Frank Gore.
Oh,
God. All right, Matt McEwen says Nolan or Starks.
I think there's a very real chance that I think they're going to take him or Damian Martinez, and it could go either way at this point. Either way. I feel like if they miss out on Scatterboo, they'll like settle for Damian Martinez. So
please, Damian Martinez.
I like Damian Martinez though too. That's a very good call.
Matt McEwen says
I do think they want someone powerful to replace Mason. I think they're looking for that skill set. Okay, I'm done.
I agree with you to a certain extent, Grant. The issue I have is we, as a fan base, we love Mason. They never liked Mason. He never liked Mason. He just
No, that's
didn't.
true. My thought process is they liked Ty Davis Price or the idea of Ty Davis Price. And then it was clear very early on that Jordan Mason was better at whatever Ty Davis Price was supposed to be good at. So they reluctantly went to Mason, but they never really wanted. And I think they want someone more like Ty Davis Price. And I think the idea was someone who would be a battering ram, someone who runs really freaking hard and can stay healthy doing that, which Jordan Mason never proved he could do.
Okay. They have a concept of a
Jeff
plan.
Wilson Jr. 2.0. They've always wanted that.
Yep, that's true. That's what Jeff Wilson was.
Matt says Nolan or Starks. What the F? Sanders? Effing Sanders? All right.
Hell yeah, baby.
Okay. Over or under 4.5 trench players taken in this draft by the 49ers. That could be offensive line, defensive line. Ryan, I will start with you. Are you taking the over or are you taking the under on trench players taken?
Under. 4 of them. They'll get 4 of them. No less, no more. I'm going under. They'll probably take 3 on the defense and 1 tackle.
Okay. Coach, what do you think?
Over. We not only need 2 defensive tackles in the edge, but we also need a nose. We don't have anybody to actually stop in short yardage, and we need an offensive lineman. They need no less than 5 linemen. I hope it's over.
No, we know what they need. It's what they do.
I agree they need it. I just don't think they do it.
Yeah, I'm
put
going
the
Ryan on
over-under
this
at
one. I
7.
just feel like we know them. We know who they are. They want people who score touchdowns. I think they'll draft 1 offensive lineman and 3 defensive linemen.
Ooh.
That's what
right at 4. Mm-hmm.
I also don't know that they're making 11 picks either. I think there's going to be some movement.
They're trading up for a running back in round 4. They're trading up for a running back.
That's going to happen. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's going to be named Cam Scatterbo, and I'm going to love the pick. I'm going to love it. Cousin Scatterbo. I'm going to love it. It's going to be great.
I will go under as well. I mean, I've mocked like as many as 7, but the 49ers are going to do their own thing. So I'm going to go under as well. All right, Grant, I'll go to you on this one. Wide receiver, running back, or tight end. Which position do they draft first out of those 3 in this draft?
I like this question. I think running back. Here's the order that I think they're going to go.
Okay.
Offensive tackle 1, defensive tackle round 2, defensive end first, 3rd round pick, linebacker with the comp pick, cornerback with the first, 4th round pick, because that guy could play 70% of the snaps. I mean, that's like a starter right there. So that's 5 starters potentially. And then you start getting into the high level backups. And sure, you could say they need a wide receiver and a tight end, but man, I really think they need a running back who can carry the load if Christian McCaffrey misses a month or 2, because that's not Garendo. And Garendo's good, but he's never been that guy. So Scatterbo or Damian Martinez right at the end of round 4, I think is what they're looking for. Or they could trade up a few spots. They traded up for Garendo.
That's where they could package some guys. I see what you're saying. Some of those later picks.
It wouldn't cost too much to go from 138 to 131, right?
Yeah.
7th round pick. I don't know.
Ryan, what do you think? Wide receiver, running back, or tight end? What do they take first here?
I wish I can give you guys something different, but I agree with Grant. When I listed out my priority list 2 weeks ago, running back was higher than receiver. It was higher than tight end. So I think the 49ers addressed it early. It was great to see what Christian McCaffrey had to say today, but I got to see it. I'm not sure. I'm very confident at this moment. I'm hopeful that Christian McCaffrey comes back and he's that dude. Garendo is not an every down back. We'll see about the speedster they got. What's his name? Isaac. You know what I'm talking about. The speedster. Yeah.
Isaac Garendo.
No, not Isaac Garendo. What's the other guy's name? The guy they picked up late in the year that we never saw. What is it?
Abanaconda.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's the sleeper, but I think they can't mess around. They lost Jordan Mason. They have to replace him, and that's a high need. So I would say running back too.
Okay, Coach, what do you think?
Well, what they will do is, I think that they're going to go tight end first. I think that this is a really rich tight end. Yeah. I think that there's a way that, I hate to say it, but they could do this as early as 11 and get Tyler Warren and explain it away and say that
Yeah.
see how much we run the offense through George. You know, it's about time that we actually double down. This is our tip of the spear guide, can't miss, and they'll sell this. You know what I mean? And then what they'll do is they'll send the white kid from Pennsylvania over here to Santa Clara, and he's like, man, never been over to California before. We're gonna love it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that they're gonna go tight end. They're gonna go tight end first.
And
I think
San Francisco, but Santa Clara's pretty cool.
Sure is shiny out here. You know what I'm saying? But
that makes sense. They've been trying to get a tight end for a minute now. The only thing I would wonder though is because they got Kittle in the later rounds, because this is such a deep tight end draft class, maybe they think they can do it again. But they have been trying to find that tight end, so wouldn't surprise me.
But again, you know what? I agree with you, Ryan. But there's also something to take into account is that's not their work. The guys who had the vision to get the Fred Warners and the George Kittles and find the Dre Greenlaws, those guys aren't here. Those guys have moved on. I think that these guys are shock and awe. They're going to trump it out. They're going to just, hey, let's get the biggest names. Let's get the biggest names. Let's get the best players. Okay? You're going to love it. All right? There's this guy from Pennsylvania. I heard he's really good. Warren of Tyler's. That's his name. We're going to love it. You like George Kittle? We're going to bring in Tyler. So I think that they're really going the cheap route, like as far as like cheap salesman route. I don't see nuance yet. Even the Robert Saleh hire wasn't nuanced. That was a no-brainer. I'm waiting to see some nuance from them. Go ahead.
When their big signing this offseason was Luke Farrell, I'm always going to the conspiracy theory or like, I'm like, how could your biggest investment this offseason in free agency be a tight end? To me, that I wonder are they preparing for a holdout, something weird, a trade? Like all of a sudden now you have a really good blocking tight end. If they were to draft Harold Fannin Jr. in round 3, who's a really good pass catching tight end, it's like, well, now you have 2 players who could potentially replace the best tight end in the league. Are you positioning yourself for that? Like, what are you doing? If they were to draft a tight end in the first 3 rounds, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think I'd understand it because it'd be, to me, an indicator that they're not going to pay George Kittle into his mid-30s and they're really going to get younger. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Coach,
I think they're a little over it too. Go ahead.
That Trump impression was fantastic. Can I suggest that you recap all the Niners game with like a Trump wig on and doing that impression? I think that would go viral. I love that.
I can't go full grift. I cannot. I can never go full grift. No.
That was great, man. Yeah.
That was good.
I think they're gonna go wide receiver first. I'm just looking at all the players that they're tied to. You've got that Ayamanor guy from Stanford. You've got both wide receivers from Iowa State. You've got Kyle Williams,
kid from Washington,
Oregon's pro day. There's a lot of receivers that they're tied to, and all of them are right there in round 2, round 3 is where you're gonna have to take them. So for me, if they're going to take one of those guys that they absolutely love, they're going to have to do it much earlier than people expect. So I'll go receiver.
Speaking of receiver, like what if Tet falls to 11? Any chance the 49ers grab him?
That's the reach of all reaches. That kid is not a first-round pick.
You know what's crazy about Tet is last year at this same time, people were talking about Tet McMillan like he was the guy. Wait till Tet comes out next year. And now we're at the point of the draft process where we can talk our way out of everybody, and Tet is just falling out of favor with people for some reason. It's really strange.
I like him.
He just big for no reason. And like be reversing field like that. Like I'm just saying, like he be reversing field like that shit's gonna work in the league, man. Like I haven't seen him like win, go score, and like take the top off of defense. Everything's contested. Everything is like shallow routes where he's getting played off. I mean, I know Savion Williams is not the guy that everybody like. I love Savion Williams. And the only reason why I love him so much is because I think that he's better than what everybody is saying the best receiver in the draft is. I shouldn't be able to do that. I shouldn't be able to find comps in the draft that you're supposed to be the best guy in there in your position.
All right. Let's switch over to the defensive side. Coach, cornerback, safety, or linebacker? Which position do they take first in this draft?
I think they go cornerback. even at our best, we struggled with the secondary. In 2019, we had to outsource to go get Richard Sherman, right? We never really got that full synchronicity with the safeties with Tart and Jimmy Ward. Now we're sitting here. We kind of struck gold with our linebacking core, but where we've wasted so much money is in the defensive line. I think that right now the only way for them to actually get that secondary together is to go in free agency and go get a guy or drafting. And I think that Demo is capable, but I just think that he's a very, very, very good player. He's just not a number one corner, in my opinion. He's phenomenal, but he's not that guy. And I think that if they went defense and they had to go first, again, the easy pick that they would take, I think they go Will Campbell.
You mean Will Johnson?
Will Johnson, sorry. Yep, Will Johnson.
Oh, see, he's got this knee injury all of a sudden. I don't know how real it is, but they're saying it could be serious. Okay. Ryan, what do you think? Cornerback, safety, linebacker. Which one do they take first?
Definitely not safety. I think they feel like they're okay there with Jair and Malik and Jason Pinnock. When you look at the linebackers and the corner position, they need both. But linebacker, they do have D Winters, who to me showed promise. I know a lot of people aren't high on him. Tatum Bethune looked decent. Curtis Robinson looked decent. So even though I think they need a linebacker, I think they need a corner. I mean, they have Renardo Green and Diamador Lenore, and then after that, who do they have? Trey Tomlinson or Darrell Luter Jr. I don't think they want to roll into the season with those guys as the option. So I think corner is a position you want to draft earlier than linebacker typically, and I think it's a greater need for the 49ers, so that's why I think they go corner.
All right. Grant, what do you think?
Corner's a big need, but like you don't necessarily need a starter. You need a third corner. And so that guy doesn't necessarily have to be super great against the run. You're bringing him in more in passing situations. He'll play a lot, but I think you need a linebacker to play 100% of the snaps or darn near it. And D Winters looks good, but I might feel better about playing D Winters at like Sam and playing him 40% of the snaps as opposed to the Dre Greenlaw role, because he had opportunities to show that he was that guy. And I don't think he had flashes, but he was also part of some games where they gave up a lot of yards on the ground. I think they got to take the best linebacker available. I don't think can wait past round 3. It's not a super deep class of linebackers. It's not. So
agreed. Chris Paul would be great at 3.
Oh yeah. I mean, they got to take a guy with one of their first few picks, I think, because he's going to be playing a ton this year, a ton. He should be. He doesn't suck.
I have a theory when it comes to linebacker, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, Grant, but I do have a theory. I think we are underestimating the Robert Saleh effect at linebacker. I think he's going to turn D Winters and one of these other cats into dudes. I do.
Possible.
Speaking of that, not to kind of like take the veer off, but you know whose effect is kind of like not even being talked about? Coach Kasarik, man. Like, when are we going to get some guys that we are going to draft where Coach Kasarik can actually do something? He needs to kind of show a little bit more for what he's been doing over the past couple of seasons. And right now, one of the things that I heard is that the player that Coach Kasarik loves is Shamar Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
He loves Shamar Stewart. And that dude has all of the physical tools, but absolutely no technique at all. So for me, I do feel like they need to get guys that are ready to play right now. I'm out on Coach Kasarik until otherwise, honestly.
Who's the player that he developed the most from the bottom to the top?
Kasarik?
DJ Jones.
Yeah,
number 1.
A Menahu, maybe.
Is he overrated?
Yeah, he's hurt.
Like Chris Forster seems like a hell of a coach.
Yeah.
There's so many examples for Chris Forster, but I'm like what he's done with Colton McKivitz, Jake Brendel, Dominic Cooney, like impressive stuff. I can't really point to the same stuff with. Hey, there was Arden Key. You gotta remember Arden Key 4 years ago. That was incredible season.
Wait a minute. We all need to shut the hell up. Can I interest you in a Cleveland Farrell?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Case in point.
Come on, man. Like, I'm out on Coach Kasarik, man. He needs to actually do something. It's like, oh, you got Nick Bosa. Great. Anybody could have churned out the production out of Nick Bosa. What else you got?
Solomon Thomas got better when he left the Niners. Kinlaw got better when he left.
So did Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah, straight up. Like
Hargrave got worse when he came to the Niners.
Otis Sweatpants says he's a Buckner and Armstead merchant.
What happened to Beal Jr.? Remember Beal? Robert Beal Jr.? That fell flat. Remember Drake Jackson?
Yeah, those were projects the Niners got specifically because they had Chris Kasarik. It's like,
yeah.
I actually think they go linebacker first as well. Because as much as I agree with you, Ryan, about the Robert Saleh effect, I also know what they've done when Robert Saleh's been here. They had Fred Warner and they spent big money on Quan Alexander and a draft pick on Greenlaw and had Azeez Al-Shaair. Don't
forget the big money they spent on Malcolm Smith once upon a time.
That's true. I don't know what he thinks of Winters. I think we all like Winters to some extent. I don't know what he thinks of him. And keeping Dre Greenlaw was super important to him. I think the linebacker position is like the crux of what he needs to do on defense. And so for me, I think that they're probably going to go linebacker out of those three positions first, based off of the way that Robert Saleh wants to run his defense. But corner, I agree, is probably the bigger position of need.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Yeah, you guys convinced me, actually. I changed my mind.
Okay. Well, you could say, like, look, maybe linebacker is more important, but you can find, like, Greenlaw was a 5th-round pick. Nick Martin is going to be a 5th-round pick. He runs a 4.5. Like, you can find very talented linebackers on deep in day 3. You're really finding a very talented corner. Now, maybe Richard Sherman was a 5th-round pick. Lenore was. And if you're playing zone, maybe you don't need, like, premium traits. But sometimes, I mean, corners fly off the board.
I think we all agree, though, more than anything, they need to stop the run. So they need that linebacker to do that. So you guys kind of convinced me here.
I think Nick Martin will be awesome.
A defensive line issue or a linebacker issue?
Say that again.
Has their run defense been a defensive line issue or a linebacker issue? I could see saying both. It's just watching what that defense looked like with Greenlaw for half against the Rams was like, wow.
I will pick. It is a linebacker issue. And the reason why is because Fred can't play free without somebody else to do the dirty work at will next to it. Fred is just, I mean, he's an amazing player, but everybody has archetypes. They all have characteristics. That doesn't take anything away from Fred, but he is more of a finesse player. His specialty is playing in pursuit, chasing down angles from behind, and playing in pass protection. But going to be a battering ram, being the hammer against the nail, that ain't what Fred do. All right? That's not what he does.
He's better going backwards than going forwards, in my opinion.
Dre Greenlaw used to take a lot of that off of Fred's plate, and Fred could play free and, quote unquote, be physical, right? Where now, because you had a Devondre Campbell, a D Winters, where Fred really, if you think about it, Fred was slotted to be damn near the defensive player of the year in the first 3 weeks of the season last year. He was playing out of his mind. Then that physicality started getting to his ass, and he started playing a different way. So I'm going to tell you that when we let go of Dre Greenlaw, and as good as our defense has been, I love all of the guys, and I think that Coach Kasarik got a lot of credit from, we bring in all these guys, and they do so well. The most elite thing about that defense was that linebacking core, and people forget that.
In the Fred's defense, he did have a broken foot, I think, in that after like week 3 or 4. So maybe that's also why his play declined.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can go both ways. I don't know. I'm the type of guy that's like, if you're out there, you're out there. Like if you can't, if you're hurting the team, then don't be out there. And if you're going to be out there, you can't make those excuses. I feel
like that. Go ahead.
I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Poppy Mark says, Eagles won the Super Bowl after a failed season. What makes it harder for the 49ers to be able to replicate that? Salute, fellas. Keep grinding. I think the Eagles should just draft so damn well that even though the fall off was there, the roster never took a step back. And it was the coaching staff that took the step back, and they were able to replenish that. The 49ers coaching staff has taken the step forward that the Eagles just did, but their roster is not, coming off of a 6-11 season. So I think that's what makes it hard to replicate.
Their O-line and D-line just way better. That's the difference.
True.
Spider369 says they should draft tight end Thomas Fadone II. I haven't done a lot of work on Thomas, so I don't know. I can't say either way, but I'll check.
Out of Nebraska, 6'4", 211 senior, 241 senior. We'll see.
All right, fellas. Draft is 2 days away. Keep crushing it on your channel.
Sanders season.
For Sanders season. All right, y'all. Thank you, everybody in the chat. We'll be back soon. Much love. Peace.
Peace.